Hi, and welcome to Select the Appropriate Markup Language based on organizational standards. So a markup language is basically the language you use to mark up the page or to sort of annotate it and display it. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and so that's what it is. It's not a programming language. It doesn't do any processing. It only covers how to display text and as it develops into images and then other media types as well. So that's what we're looking at. Which markup language are we going to pick? And there are a number of them. There's not just HTML, there's XML. There are different versions of HTML, things like XHTML and HTML 1 through 5. So there's all different things that you can use. And so we need to check what we're going to use. Okay, one of the things that can affect the decision that we make is the purpose of the page. So depending on the purpose, we might choose a different language. HTML is suited for a lot of things in web design, most of the things that you would deal with, in fact. XML could be used for a number of things. XHTML is used for certain things. So it just depends what you're looking for, and that might have an effect on the language that you choose. Also, the language the page is already written in. It wouldn't make sense to convert a page from, say, HTML2 to HTML5 unless there's a really good reason for it, or HTML4 even. So you want to reduce the amount of work that you have, and you only want to change the language the page is written in if there's a really good reason for it. You might be including some new media types that weren't supported in HTML4 but are supported in HTML5, so that's a good reason to rewrite the page. But it depends. And it also depends how similar the original languages are. So between HTML4 and HTML5, there are some significant differences, but there aren't necessarily big differences between some of the other languages. So it might only be a very small change to then change the language it's written in, and so it might be worthwhile to do. The languages the developer is familiar with is also an important choice. So I'm not going to write a page in a language I don't know unless, again, there's a very specific reason for me to go and learn that language. So obviously you would either find a developer who knows the language you need to use, or you would pay someone to get trained, or you would change the language you want to use to something that the developers you have actually can use and do know. Also, your organization might require a certain language to be used. There might be common documents that need to be used in a certain way. If you're a web developing organization, you might have a standard that you use to make it easier for web developers to pump out pages so that they all look in a similar sort of style to make it easier for them to develop. So one of these, again, as I said, could be an SOP, a standard operating procedure. So when we make web pages, we make them in this way, and part of that could be we have to use HTML5 or we have to use something else. And also a common style guide. So there might be elements in a style guide that can only be done in a certain language, and so you would obviously need to use that language to implement that style guide. And that's select the appropriate markup language based on organizational standards.